After I transferred, I was assigned to be a rich kid's one-on-one tutor. At first, Jackson was completely disgusted by me. "Stay away from me. You stink." Later, he was throwing me birthday parties, buying me gifts, and trailing me like a lost puppy. I thought he might feel something different for me. The day I finally worked up the courage to confess, he blocked me, deleted me, and then just disappeared, avoiding me like the plague. The next time we met, he was on the court, staring at me and my friend laughing in the stands with a complicated look on his face. He rushed over to the bleachers and grabbed my hand. "You said you liked me. Does that still count?" After my parents divorced, I lived with my grandma in our small town. In my first year of high school, a creep at school started harassing me. Before, he just threatened me into helping him cheat on tests, but this time he actually tried to kiss me. The whole thing made me so sick I couldn't eat for days. I didn't dare tell my grandma what really happened. I just said some kids at school were bullying me and that I never wanted to go back. My grandma frantically called my mom, who got furious. "You want to drop out over every little thing? There are over 1,000 kids in that school. Why would they single you out to bully? Why? Because my parents weren't around. Because I was an easy target." I listened to her rant in silence. As she went on, her patience wore thin. "So what do you want?" "I want to transfer after summer break." "I don't have that kind of power. Call your dad. If it involves money, ask him, not me." With that, she hung up. My grandma pulled me into a hug, her eyes red with sympathy. My dad was surprisingly easy to deal with. I just told him I wanted to transfer to a school in the city, and he agreed without asking why. Without even consulting me, he picked out a private boarding school. Maybe he felt guilty because my dad was pretty generous when it came to spending money on me. Tuition at the new school was over $50,000 a year. We only got to go home every other weekend, and each time it was a 2-hour bus ride to see my grandma. I felt more alone than ever. To avoid any more creeps, I shaved my head into a 3mm buzz cut before school started. I looked as ugly as a fuzzy cue ball. I also deliberately let my stubble grow out, making myself look as scruffy as possible. To complete the look, I bought a pair of non-prescription glasses with clunky, dull blue plastic frames. When I looked in the mirror, I was so ugly I had to laugh. Perfect. No one should get any weird ideas about me now. On the first day, my new classmates were a lot friendlier than I expected. "Dude, you look intimidatingly smart. I bet you're a math and science god." They were all really accepting and struck up conversations with me. Everyone except for a basketball recruit named Jackson, who seemed to have a problem with me from the start. I placed 10th in the class on the midterms. I got a perfect score in math but almost failed English. The English curriculum at the private school was way ahead of my old public school, and a lot harder. Much of the test was on material I'd never seen before, and I couldn't keep up. My homeroom teacher kindly set up a peer tutoring group with me and Jackson. Jackson was lopsided too. His English was nearly perfect, but he'd only gotten half the points in math, the complete opposite of me. To make it easier for us to work together, the teacher made us desk mates and even moved us into the same dorm room. Jackson flat out refused in front of the whole class. "Sir, I don't need a tutor. You could get God himself to teach me, and I still wouldn't get math." At first, I was shocked that anyone would dare talk to a teacher like that. But that was just Jackson. He marched to the beat of his own drum. I later found out he was the son of the head of the board of trustees, a bona fide rich kid. He could get away with anything at this school. No one dared to cross him. Our teacher was used to it. God doesn't waste his time on stuff like this. You should be glad Leo isn't complaining about you, and here you are being picky. We'd been in school for almost 2 months, but Jackson and I had never interacted. We hadn't even exchanged a single word. He grudgingly moved his desk next to mine, leaving a wide gap between us. I tried to push them together a few times, but he'd just deliberately pull his away again. "Stay back. You stink." This kid really had an attitude problem. Jackson laid down the law. "First, don't bother me. I don't have time to tutor you in English, so don't talk to me about schoolwork. Second, don't touch my stuff. Third, I haven't thought of it yet. I'll let you know when I do." I nodded, having no intention of provoking him. But that night, While moving into the dorm, I still managed to piss him off. I told you not to touch my stuff. Who said you could put your bag on my chair? It was a 4-person room with loft beds and desks underneath. I had a lot of luggage, and while unpacking, I'd casually placed a bag of clothes on the chair next to me. I had no idea that was Jackson's spot. His face darkened as he threw my bag on the floor, spilling my clothes everywhere. He then proceeded to wipe the chair down repeatedly with a disinfecting wipe before storming off to the bathroom to take a shower. The other 2 roommates were nice guys, one named Sam and the other Mikey. They helped me pick up my clothes from the floor. Mikey tried to comfort me. He's always like that. He's a bit of a germaphobe, total rich kid attitude, but he's a good guy deep down. Don't let it get to you. A good guy? I wasn't seeing it. After lights out, Jackson suddenly called my name in the darkness. Leo, I thought of the 3rd rule. If you so much as touch me, I'll knock your teeth out. Got it? Jackson went to the gym to train every evening during study hall. He was a basketball recruit who had won a National Youth League championship with his middle school team. Later, he was scouted by a provincial club to compete in the National Youth League. His family supported his basketball career. I heard the special coach at our school, a retired player from the provincial team, was hired by the board director specifically for his son. I didn't envy his family's money, I envied that he had parents who cared so much. Jackson wasn't a bad person. In fact, he got along great with everyone else in class. He was handsome, tall, and rich with a whole legion of fangirls. You couldn't count the number of people who had a crush on him. But for some reason, he couldn't stand the sight of me. I figured it was because of my deliberately unkempt, ugly appearance. If my arm so much as crossed the edge of my desk, Jackson would immediately kick my chair. Back off. You stink. Honestly, I didn't smell at all, but the second Jackson saw me, his brow would furrow so deeply you could trap a fly in it. One day, my homeroom teacher called me into his office. Leo, it's great that you're focused on your studies, but you also need to pay attention to your personal hygiene. At the very least, it shouldn't disrupt the daily lives of your roommates. He was a young guy. He pulled a new razor out of his drawer and tried to give it to me. I awkwardly declined his offer, promising I'd be more careful from now on. It didn't take a genius to figure out Jackson had tattled on me. He was probably trying to get me kicked out of the room. As time went on, the awful incident at my old school started to fade from my mind. I was getting tired of looking like a slob anyway. So that night, I went back to the dorm and shaved. When Jackson came back from the gym, I had just gotten out of the shower and was about to climb into bed. He stared at my face for a good 2 seconds. Whoa, is that what you really look like?
Sam chuckled.
You've been roommates for a month and you're just now seeing his face? How was I supposed to? He had that disgusting beard before. It was so gross I never even looked at him properly. As if he'd discovered something amazing, Jackson walked right up to me to get a closer look at my face. You're actually pretty handsome. So much better when you're clean. My grandma video called me every night to ask how I was doing at school. She was happy to see I'd shaved my beard and kept complimenting me. You have your mother's eyes. You're the spitting image of her. There she was again, missing my mom through me. That woman hadn't been back to see us in over 6 months. Ever since she started her new family, she rarely bothered with me. She'd only show up on holidays, have a quick meal, and then leave. It was like she was afraid I'd cling to her. When I was little, I was proud when people said I looked like my mom. Now, it just felt frustrating. If I could choose, I'd want my face to have absolutely no resemblance to either of them. They had a failed marriage and irresponsibly tossed me aside, a relic of their broken love. But I had no choice. I was left behind to grow up slowly in the past they had already abandoned. I was taking the call in the bathroom when someone knocked, needing to use it. I quickly said goodnight to my grandma. When I opened the door, Jackson was standing there. If you're on a video call, why don't you just do it out here? Why do you always hide in the bathroom? Isn't it obvious? Because I was afraid of bothering you and making you mad. I just smiled, not planning to answer. As I tried to squeeze past him, he grabbed my wrist. The memory of his 3 rules was so ingrained in me that I yanked my hand away like I'd been electrocuted. Jackson froze. I asked you a question. Why are you ignoring me? I was afraid of disturbing everyone. Hey, let me see that math worksheet from today. Huh? I hesitated for a moment, then double-checked. Didn't you say not to talk to you about schoolwork? Jackson clicked his tongue. Why are you holding a grudge? The teacher paired us up. If our grades don't improve by the next test, we're both gonna get chewed out. The mind of a rich kid was truly a mystery. I gave him the worksheet. The next morning during study hall, he tossed 3 full pages of handwritten English phrases onto my desk. Memorize these. They're all important. With that, Jackson slumped onto his desk and fell fast asleep. Looking at the dark circles under his eyes and the now closed gap between our desks, I was lost in thought. Did I shave my beard? Or did I shave Jackson's brain? Was this an olive branch? During class meeting, the teacher announced he was going to make some minor seating adjustments. The moment my name was called, Jackson shot up from his seat. Sir, you can't move him. It'll be inconvenient for me and Jackson to discuss problems. The teacher laughed, annoyed. If I recall correctly, wasn't it someone who specifically came to me to request a new desk mate? This time, the teacher didn't immediately grant his request. Leo, what do you think? I was stunned. I never expected him to ask for my opinion. The whole class turned to look at me, quietly waiting for my decision, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. I'd like to move. Jackson slammed his hand on my desk, unwilling to accept it. But he must have known how horribly he'd treated me before, because in the end, he couldn't even bring himself to ask me to stay. During the seat change, I packed my bag and moved to my new spot. The window was cracked open, and a breeze rustled the curtains, brushing against my collar. So this was what it felt like to have a choice. After class, Jackson came over holding the 3 pages he'd written for me. You left this. Thanks, but I already copied it down. Jackson frowned. I gave that to you. Why would you go to the trouble of copying it all over again? To help me remember. Jackson was speechless for a second. You going to the cafeteria? I wasn't sure who he was talking to. I looked around, and when no one else responded, I pointed to myself. Are you asking me? Yeah. I already promised Sam I'd go to the 2nd floor cafeteria with him. Cool, let's go together. If we don't hurry, there'll be a line. Jackson didn't seem to get that I was turning him down. Instead, he just naturally inserted himself into our plans. I stayed in my seat. Jackson, I don't want to eat with you. He stopped in his tracks and turned around, a look of disbelief on his face. He probably wasn't used to being rejected. Whether it was his basketball teammates or the popular kids from other grades, Jackson was always the center of attention. He looked a little embarrassed. Are you mad at me? I have no reason to be mad. His eyes, which always seemed to hold a hint of a smile, were now filled with confusion. What do you mean, no reason? I said it bluntly, I don't need to be friends with someone who treated me like crap. Jackson, I hate you. When I got back to the dorm that night, Jackson was already there, which was unusual. He normally stayed at the gym practicing until the dorms were locked for the night. After everyone had washed up, I took my phone and slipped into the bathroom to video call my grandma, but Jackson squeezed in right behind me. The cramped space felt even smaller with him in it. I instinctively clutched the collar of my shirt. Get out. I came to apologize. Jackson's skin was a healthy bronze, and his damp hair was slicked back, revealing a forehead beaded with sweat for some reason. I didn't mean to single you out. I just can't stand messy people. I'm sorry for how I treated you before. Can you not hate me? After he said it, a strange pinkish hue crept up the back of his ears. So the tanned rich kid could blush after all. I accept your apology. Now can you please get out? Jackson didn't move. So will you have lunch with me tomorrow? No. Why not this time? Are you a walking FAQ? My phone rang, my grandma's video call popping up on the screen. Jackson and I stared at each other for 3 seconds before he reluctantly backed out of the bathroom. When I came out after my call, Jackson was sitting at his desk, staring at me intently. His eyes followed my every move. His face screamed, "You still haven't answered me. You still haven't answered me. You still haven't answered me." He reminded me of my neighbor's little black and tan dog with the bell on its collar. I walked straight to my bed and lay down. A minute later, Jackson appeared beside me. He was almost 6 feet 1 inch, so he could easily look me in the eye even as I lay on the top bunk. "Why won't you eat with me tomorrow either?" "I don't want to." A couple of muffled chuckles came from across the room. The other 2 roommates were clearly enjoying Jackson's predicament. He scratched his head and clicked his tongue in frustration. "Fine. Can I borrow your math workbook, then? It's on my desk. Get it yourself." After that, Jackson started asking to borrow my study materials every day. He tirelessly compiled lists of key English phrases for me and even thoughtfully noted the corresponding page numbers in the workbook. He was so proficient you'd think he'd been an English tutor for years. On the Friday night before break, Jackson used a homework question as an excuse to add me on WhatsApp. I regretted it almost immediately. The worksheet had 28 questions. Jackson sent me 27 pictures. The only one he didn't send was an example problem from the textbook, the kind that already had the answer. I just muted his notifications and prepared to binge watch a show in bed. Unfortunately, my perfect vacation was ruined. My mom came back and we got into a huge fight. "Mom, it's late fall and you're still wearing a t-shirt. Aren't you old enough to know when it's cold? And this food is so greasy. Eating this much oil is bad for you. And this meat, it's so tough." I put down my chopsticks. "If you don't like it, don't eat it." My mom's voice was shrill, especially when she was scolding someone. "What kind of attitude is that? I'm your mother. Grandma is your mother, too. Look at how you talk to her. If you really cared, you'd visit more often and send more money." I hated her phony sense of concern. They were supposed to be caring words, but coming from her, they just sounded passive-aggressive. I went back to my room, shutting the door on her histrionics. My mind was racing, so I decided to distract myself. I took out my phone and carefully wrote out the solutions to the problems Jackson had sent me, sending them back one by one. Jackson quickly replied with a stream of emojis. "I'm playing some pickup ball outside the Galleria at 4 p.m. Wanna come watch? Too far. No. Where do you even live? I don't have a home." I closed the chat and turned on the TV, cranking the volume up to the max. At 3 in the afternoon, based on past experience, my mom should have been long gone. I went out to use the bathroom, only to find her still sitting on the couch, glaring at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Your dad spends a fortune sending you to a private school, and now you only care about him and not me, is that it?" There was a stone pressing on my chest, and the only way to break it was to shatter my own heart. The suffocating feeling was overwhelming. "Weren't you the one who said to go to him for anything involving money?" My mom burst into tears for no reason, saying she was useless, that if she had money, she'd want to support me too. Grandma came out of the kitchen at the sound of the commotion. She wiped her hands, put her arm around my mom, and looked at me helplessly, as if hoping I would back down and apologize. I hadn't done anything wrong. My mom had been working on her own for years. She had her struggles, but that wasn't my fault. If she had been a loving, responsible mother, I would have cherished her. I would have fought anyone who made her cry. But she wasn't. "I have plans with a friend. I'm heading out." The cab ride from my grandma's to the Galleria downtown cost $50. I regretted it the entire way. I should have used the bathroom at home before I left. There were outdoor basketball courts in front of the mall, and a crowd had gathered, drawn by flyers for a street ball tournament. I jogged through the crowd and rushed into the mall to find a bathroom, only to run into Jackson at the entrance to the KFC. "I thought you said you weren't coming." Jackson's face lit up as he walked toward me, but I was in a hurry and brushed right past him, heading straight for the KFC. "Where are you going?" "The game's about to start." "Bathroom." Jackson let go of my arm. When I came back out, he was still standing there. "What are you doing here? Didn't you say it was about to start?" "Waiting for you," he said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "What for? You came all this way to watch me play." "Of course I was going to wait for you." I was speechless. The truth was, I just didn't want to be at home. I only came here because I had nowhere else to go. Jackson led me to the players' rest area by the court and handed me his backpack and water bottle. I held the bag like it was a crate of dynamite. If I got this thing dirty, would he make me pay with my life? On the court, Jackson was practically glowing. His focus was absolute, his body coiled and ready every second. It was a side of him I'd never seen before. As he racked up dunks, the cheers from the crowd grew louder and louder. No wonder so many people wrote him love letters. The game ended with Jackson's team winning by a huge margin. His teammates celebrated with enthusiastic hugs, but he avoided the contact, standing off to the side, radiating his own brand of cheer. Mr. Germaphobe was back at it. Jackson took the water bottle from my hand and took a couple of small sips.
I'm starving.
Let me buy you dinner. I should get home. We can just get KFC. It'll be quick. I was about to refuse again, but my stomach let out a loud growl. I'd barely eaten anything at lunch. Jackson grinned. See? You're hungry too. Don't be polite. Besides, you can hold my bag for me. I'm all sweaty and I don't want to get it dirty. So that's what this was about. He needed someone to carry his bag. I don't want KFC. What do you want to eat? McDonald's. Jackson looked confused. Is there a big difference? It's not about the food. I just like the feeling of having a choice. Jackson nodded, looking like he sort of understood. Got it. I'll remember that. I sent a voice message to my grandma, telling her I was with a friend and would be home late, so she shouldn't worry. As luck would have it, while we were in line for our food, I ran into my dad, who was ordering with his young son. We made eye contact and both of us were surprised. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him. I think it was during the holidays last year. What are you doing out of school? It's the break. Oh right. What do you want to eat? Dad will buy it for you. Before he could finish, the little boy he was holding hands with clung to his leg. Daddy is my daddy. You're a bad guy who wastes daddy's money. Don't you try to steal my daddy. The little kid, no bigger than a bean, glared at me. My dad looked embarrassed and gave him a half-hearted scolding. I just waved it off, took my tray, and joined Jackson at a corner table. Jackson glanced in my dad's direction. His wife was sitting at a table watching over their things, her gaze also fixed on us. Jackson was quiet for a moment, then suddenly asked, "Is your dad remarried?" I nodded. Jackson took a huge bite of his burger, devouring a third of it in one go. My dad got me a stepmom too. I was really surprised. I'd always thought Jackson came from a happy, perfect family. I'd even been jealous of him. I never imagined his parents were divorced too. Do you live with them? My mom moved abroad, so I have to. Suddenly, the class barrier that stood between us was blown apart by a shared sense of misery. We talked for a long time about why our parents divorced, our relationships with them, and how to deal with stepmothers. Jackson said the reason his English was so good was because he'd wanted to go abroad to find his mom when he was little, so he studied like crazy. No wonder someone who failed nearly every other subject could get a near-perfect score in English. My dad left first with his wife and kid. As they were leaving, he sent me a text. He didn't even have the guts to walk over and wave goodbye in front of his new family. He'd probably spent too much on my tuition, and his wife wasn't happy about it. Jackson saw the whole thing and offered an assessment that hit me right where I lived. When you get a stepmom who hates you, your real dad basically becomes a stepdad too. After that unexpected conversation, Jackson and I got a lot closer. Sam found it strange. What happened? You guys are gone for a 2-day break and suddenly you're friends? Jackson shamelessly declared, absence makes the heart grow fonder, I guess. As I got to know him, I realized Jackson was completely obsessed with looks. He only hung out with people he found attractive, and his level of tolerance varied depending on their hotness. Once, I accidentally splashed some soup on his school uniform. The whole table went silent, but Jackson just calmly wiped it off with a napkin. It's fine. I'll just change when we get back to the dorm. Mikey's eyes practically popped out of his head. What the hell? I spilled water on your desk last time and you nearly bit my head off. How come it's no big deal when Leo does it? Jackson was completely unapologetic. Are you as good-looking as Leo? Mikey was speechless. You hypocrite. Whenever someone in the dorm had a birthday, we'd all chip in and have the guy at the corner store order a cake for us. My birthday is on Christmas Eve. Jackson had someone buy a whole Christmas tree. He skipped his evening practice and holed up in the dorm, decorating it himself. At midnight, he brought out the tree and told me to pick a prize. It was covered in ornaments, and each one had a little slip of paper inside. I'm Santa Claus tonight. Whatever you pick, I'll get it for you. Touched, I carefully chose an ornament from the very top of the tree. I opened it and found a note that read, 1 PS5. Mikey let out a piercing shriek. No fair. How come for my birthday you just put $300 on my meal card? I demand you make up the difference. Jackson shot back, go turn on a light and look in a mirror. Sam was curious. What do the other ones say? Before Jackson could stop them, Sam and Mikey grabbed random ornaments and opened them. They all said 1 PS5. Mikey scoffed, you call this a lottery? It's all for show. You don't get it, idiot. That's the third place prize. I put the most of those in. Mikey stammered, wait, that thing is the cheapest prize? We all worked together to open the rest of the ornaments. Besides the PS5s, there were also options for an Alienware computer and a post-graduation trip abroad country of my choice. It was obscenely generous. My brain finally caught up and I thanked him. This is too much. I can't accept it. Jackson's smile faded. You don't like video games? Oh, I get it. You can pick one of the three yourself. I won't decide for you. No, I love them, but then it's settled. Jackson's rich kid attitude flared up again. I want to give it to you, so just take it. This is the first time I've ever put this much thought into a gift for someone. Don't be ungrateful. Mikey stroked his face slyly. Is it too late for me to get plastic surgery? You're working with a bad foundation. It'd be a waste of money. I stared at the beautifully decorated Christmas tree, lost in a daze. Why was Jackson doing all this for me? As a thank you, when Jackson's birthday came around, I used the allowance I'd been saving for half a year to buy him a pair of basketball shoes. He absolutely loved them and said he was going to wear them on the winner's podium at the national tournament. At the final exams, my English grade improved dramatically, and my overall score put me in the top 3 in our class. Jackson's math also got a little better. At least he passed. Our homeroom teacher posted our pictures on the Star Tutors board with a big red paper flower between them. It was tacky as hell. But Jackson insisted on taking a picture of it. First time in my life I've ever been praised for my schoolwork. When winter break arrived, I went with my grandma to the market to shop for the new year. We passed a liquor store and unexpectedly ran into Mason, a classmate from my old high school. Mason was the one who had saved me. When that creep was harassing me, he happened to be passing by and stepped in to help. We chatted for a few minutes, then said our goodbyes. I'd only walked a few steps when a guy bundled up like a mummy rode past me on a bike. You're so slow. I've been waiting for you at the corner forever. I turned around just as the guy unzipped his thick jacket. To my surprise, he was wearing the exact same hoodie as Mason. Even the color was identical. A strange thought flickered through my mind. Aren't those called matching couples outfits? Can two guys wear them? My brain, at the most inappropriate time, conjured an image of me and Mason wearing matching outfits. Wait, could Mason, like me? Every year, on the day before New Year's Eve, my dad would drive over to pick me up. I packed my bag and waited at home, but it wasn't until evening that he finally called. He said the 3 of them had gone to Florida for the year and told me to have a good New Year with my grandma. On New Year's Eve, my mom came back, and she brought a man with her, tall and a little heavyset. They came in carrying 6 different gifts, all supplements for the elderly. My mom looked a little flustered when she saw me. Leo, this is Rick. Say hi. Hi, Rick. Rick looked embarrassed and managed to pull $800 bills from his 4 pockets, pressing them into my hand. Your mom said you wouldn't be home, so I didn't prepare anything. I was planning to get you a gift after we met. This is for the new year. Please take it. I didn't really care as long as he was good to my grandma. That New Year's Eve dinner was awkward for me, but my grandma was thrilled, constantly asking Rick about his family. Rick wasn't from around here. He had come back with my mom to celebrate the holiday in her old hometown and was leaving the next day. The 3 of them sat in the living room watching the New Year's Eve special on TV, laughing constantly. For a moment, they almost looked like a real family. Hiding in my room felt rude, but sitting in the living room was unbearable. My mom had clearly planned for Rick's visit at a time she thought I'd be away, which meant she never intended for me to know about him. My dad didn't want me, and my mom hadn't planned on seeing me. This holiday sucked. Luckily, Jackson texted me. He was going with some friends to set off fireworks by the river outside of town and asked if I wanted to come. It took me almost half an hour to get a cab. By the time I got to the river, Jackson and his friends were already there. Over here, Jackson was waving a sparkler. He was so tall that the tiny 6-inch stick in his hand looked comically out of place. He threw an arm around my shoulder. "Everyone, this is my one-on-one tutor from school, Leo. Nice to meet you. Hey man, heard a lot about you. Everyone's here, right? Let's start the show." I started to go help, but Jackson pulled me back and handed me 2 sparklers. "Let them do it. Lighting those things is dangerous. You can play with these." He pulled 2 disposable masks out of his pocket and gave one to me. "There's gonna be ash falling later. You should cover your mouth and nose." I put on the mask. "Why'd you guys come all the way out here to set off fireworks? They're banned in the city. Besides, isn't this closer to you?" My heart skipped a beat. Jackson said it so casually, as if there was nothing strange about it at all. What if I hadn't come? Then I wouldn't have come either. My dad didn't want me going out. I had to sneak away. The brilliant, colorful fireworks exploded in bursts of fleeting beauty, lighting up the entire night sky. I turned my head and saw the spectacular display reflected in his eyes. I don't know who started it, but someone shouted Happy New Year, and a chorus of voices followed. The sound of the fireworks was deafening. Jackson leaned in close to my ear. "Leo, Happy New Year. I wish you happiness. You too." He couldn't hear me and yelled, "What did you say?" I stood on my tiptoes and got closer to his ear. "I wish you happiness." He tilted his head toward me as I stretched up. Another firework bloomed, its blinding white light casting our silhouettes onto the ground. For just a second, the shadow of us, close and intimate, was burned into my mind like a photograph. I became a special exception among Jackson's friends. Everyone knew not to touch Jackson's stuff, or you'd get an earful. And if you caught him in a bad mood, you might even get punched. One time, Sam, on a whim, decided to trick Jackson by telling him I had drunk from his water bottle. But Jackson didn't react at all. He even took a drink from it himself. Every time we came back from a break, Jackson would bring back a ton of imported snacks for the dorm, and he always let me pick first. Gradually, I started to enjoy this special treatment. After all, not even my own parents had ever treated me this well. In the first semester of our senior year, Jackson was barely at school. The new season had started, and he had to travel all over the country for games. His rankings and awards were his ticket to his dream university. Every night, besides my video call with Grandma, I had to call Jackson to tutor him and go over problems. Another new year came and went. Once again, my dad took his wife and kid on a trip for the holidays. This time, it was his wife who called me. She said that my dad had supported me through high school, and that was more than enough. Their finances were tight now, so it would be best if we all went our separate ways and didn't bother each other anymore. My mom and Rick got married and even took out a loan to buy a house in the next city over. At New Year's Eve dinner, my mom mentioned that she wanted to bring Grandma to live with them after the holiday. Grandma said, "Let's wait until after Leo's college entrance exams." My mom started to say something but stopped. Rick patted her hand, signaling that my exams were the most important thing this year. After dinner, I went to my room to change. Jackson had made plans with me early on to go set off fireworks by the river. As I was leaving, I realized I'd forgotten my phone. I turned back, and just before I opened the door, I heard my mom's sharp voice, "My due date is in May. I can't just hold it in until after his exams. Rick can't get time off from work then, Mom." I froze for a long moment. I put my key away and knocked on the door instead. The conversation stopped abruptly. I hurried inside, grabbed my phone, and fled. When Jackson saw me, he waved excitedly. But as I got closer, the smile vanished from his face. "Why are you crying?" "It's nothing. Tell me, who bullied you? I'll go get revenge for you. My mom's pregnant." The words came out, and I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. She didn't want me, and now she's going to take my grandma away too. I was rambling, just trying to let it all out. Jackson didn't say anything else. After a moment, he suddenly opened his arms and pulled me into a hug. You still have me. I'll be back at school in a little over a month, and we're still going to college in Boston together. As long as I'm around, you won't be alone, right? I still had Jackson. When you're vulnerable, it's easy to get swept away by emotions and do things that don't make sense. Like right now, flashes of all my moments with Jackson were playing in my head. And the image of Mason and that guy in their matching hoodies. Could that be me and Jackson, too? As a firework shot up into the starry sky, I gathered my courage and stood on my tiptoes. My lips brushed against his cheek. Jackson froze. When he realized what had happened, he pushed me away, hard and fast. I fell to the ground, scraping my palm as I caught myself. The sting of the pain snapped me back to reality. Amid the cheers of Happy New Year from everyone else, I scrambled to my feet, humiliated, and looked at Jackson. He was wiping his face furiously. What the hell are you doing? Jackson, I like you. Don't you like me? His pupils dilated. He glanced around frantically to see if anyone was watching. What did you say? I knew he'd heard me, but I didn't have the courage to say it again. Panic started to swallow me whole. I think I'd completely misread him. Jackson just saw me as a friend, but I had other feelings for him. Was it because I was harassed by a guy before? Is that why I always misinterpret how people feel about me? I turned and walked toward the road. Jackson didn't follow. You're a liar, Jackson. I was all alone. In April, Jackson passed the athletic admissions for his top choice school. He never came back to our school. I heard a new basketball tournament had started, and besides competing, he was also taking extra classes to prepare for the academic portion of the college entrance exams. I checked his social media profile once. All the vibrant photos of his life were gone, replaced by a single, cold line indicating a private account. A wave of sadness washed over me. He'd unfriended me. The message was clear. We were done. Steeling myself, I deleted him as a friend. The night after our exams ended, our class had a graduation party. Mikey told me Jackson was going to be there. His team had placed in the top 3 of the National Youth League again, and now he was a rising star in the basketball world. To avoid the awkwardness, I skipped the party and took a train to the next city over to visit my mom and my 1-month-old baby sister. Rick picked me up at the station, even bringing a bouquet of flowers. Leo, your mom feels really bad. She hasn't been sleeping well these past few days while you were taking your exams. I actually liked Rick. He was the one who had booked a hotel for me near the testing center. My mom had put on some weight and looked much healthier. Maybe my little sister had awakened her maternal instincts, because she was even kind and gentle with me. The baby was so soft. I held her carefully, and for some reason, it reminded me of the first time I held Jackson's backpack. My mom asked, have you thought about where you want to go to college? I want to go to Boston. As for which school, it'll depend on my scores. Oh, Boston is nice. She studied my face. Why don't you stay here for the summer? I was surprised. She used to be so afraid of me clinging to her, but now she had completely changed. I wasn't used to it. Grandma can stay here and take care of you and the baby. I can cook for myself, so don't worry. I won't try to convince her to come back. My mom paused. You can stay wherever you want. I just wanted to tell you that this is your home now, too. She looked like she'd said something embarrassing, her face turning red. After a long moment, she wiped away a tear. When you were born, I felt the same way I do now. I wanted to give you the best of everything in the world. I'm so sorry, Leo. I didn't respond. I didn't want to just have a tearful hug and instantly reconcile. The years of neglect I'd endured couldn't be erased with a single apology. But I was happy. I felt like life was finally starting to move in a better direction. Around 11 that night, my phone rang twice and then stopped. It was Jackson. The room was dark, but even from a missed call, my heartbeat was deafening. We hadn't spoken in half a year. He probably just dialed the wrong number. I got into Harvard and once again was schoolmates with Mason. I was prepared to work my way through college, but Rick paid my tuition for me. He said it was an honor to pay tuition for a Harvard student. My dad called me twice. He told me his business partner's daughter was also studying in Boston and that I should invite her out for dinner sometime. I refused. He transferred $20,000 to my account, but I sent it back. To stop him from giving out my number to random people, I changed it. When college started, I joined the student union and became an officer in the arts and sports department. In my first month on the job, I was assigned to a major sporting event. The Boston Collegiate Men's Basketball Invitational was being held at our school, and our department was in charge of providing logistical support for the entire tournament. The first game was our team against Boston College. Before the game started, I was pushing a cart, delivering water to both locker rooms. That's when I saw him. Jackson was even taller, his muscles more defined. He was in a BC uniform, chatting with someone next to him. Of course, he was good enough to play as a freshman. I quickly looked down, pulling the brim of my cap low, hoping to get away before he noticed me. "Excuse me, do you have any extra ice buckets?" I had no choice but to look up. Yes, one moment. I hurried out the door, but I heard rapid footsteps behind me. Leo! Jackson had followed me out. I froze, then turned around, pretending I had just seen him. I smiled and waved. "Hey, long time no see." Jackson seemed thrown off by my reaction. He raised a hand, then lowered it, awkwardly shadowboxing the air. "Are you a sub or on the main roster?" Jackson puffed out his chest. "Main roster. I'm a starter." "That's amazing. Good luck." I turned to leave, but he called after me. "Leo, after the game, can we talk?" Jackson's eyes were pleading, and I was on the verge of saying yes. But then my phone rang. It was Mason. I had saved 2 tickets for him and his boyfriend, Will, to come see the game. I told them to call me when they got to the gym so I could bring the tickets out to them. "I have to go. Good luck with the game." What did Jackson want to talk about, anyway? Was he going to suggest I see a therapist? After the opening performance, the players took the court. I didn't have any duties during the game, so I sat in the stands with Mason and Will. When Jackson appeared, a wave of screams erupted from the audience. People around us started whispering, "What's going on? Who is that guy?" "That's Jackson. He's a famous player, went viral online. Played in the National League. He's a freshman starter." A lot of people came just to see him. As the first half played out, my eyes kept drifting back to Jackson. I don't know if it was my imagination, but a few times, our eyes met. Will asked curiously, "Why does number 24 on the other team keep looking over here?" Mason glanced at me. "You know him? High school classmate. Is there a story there?" "More like a disaster." "Ooh, do tell," Mason said, intrigued. I scoffed. I confessed, and he rejected me. "Oh, yeah, that's rough." Will was surprised. "So you're into tan jocks?" Will continued, "If he rejected you, why does he keep staring at you like that? Does he regret it?" My heart skipped a beat. "No way. He unfriended me. We haven't spoken in over 6 months." Will was indignant. "He must be blind." The game ended. Harvard won. It was the first time I had ever seen Jackson lose a game. But I no longer had the right to comfort him. After all, he didn't even want to be my friend. When the final buzzer sounded, I was sure Jackson was looking right at me. I still had work to do, so I hopped down from the stands to find my department members. I never expected Jackson to cross the entire court and walk toward me. "Leo, can you give me 5 minutes?" He grabbed my hand, his grip firm. "I need to talk to you."
Sorry, I'm busy.
I struggled to pull my hand away, but he was too strong. Seeing my reluctance, Will jumped in, planting his hands on his hips like a righteous hero. "Hey, hands off. His boyfriend is standing right there, you know." Jackson froze, completely petrified. He slowly let go of my hand. "You have a boyfriend?" I was stunned too. Since when did I have a boyfriend? Will pointed at Mason. Him. This guy was a true friend. To back me up, he was willing to lend me his own boyfriend. A lot of people are after Leo. Is it so surprising he has a boyfriend? What are you waiting for? Your boyfriend is being harassed over here. Mason, pressed into service, put on a stern face and glared at Jackson. You could almost see the sparks flying between them. Jackson's voice was agitated. "Leo, break up with that scumbag. I saw them kissing when you weren't looking just now. Will's face turned red. Who are you calling a scumbag? I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Great. This was a complete mess. Seeing that I wasn't reacting, Jackson got desperate. Leo, you said you liked me. Does that still count? Time seemed to stand still. I steadied my breathing, kept my cool, and pictured Jackson's panicked eyes in the dark. I was just kidding. How could you take that seriously? That night, Jackson sent me 10 friend requests. I ignored everyone. First, the scene at the gym was mortifying. Second, I had no idea how to respond. Somehow, Jackson got a hold of my class schedule and showed up in my lecture hall the next morning. He was so tall and eye-catching that even sitting in the back row, he drew a lot of attention. The second the bell rang, he was there, blocking my way. Let's go outside. I'm not leaving until you let me finish what I have to say. I sighed. Let's talk outside. There are too many people here. Jackson obediently followed me to a secluded, shady spot behind the building before I stopped. What do you want to say? He asked eagerly. Did you break up with that jerk? Don't call him that. His name is Mason. We were never together. He and Will are the couple. Jackson breathed a visible sigh of relief, his eyes lighting up. I knew it. Why would you like some pretty boy with delicate skin like that? The comment annoyed me. Mason is a good friend of mine. Show some respect. The smile on Jackson's face froze. How good? Better than us? Were we good? You're the one who deleted me on WhatsApp. Jackson looked shocked. I didn't delete you. You deleted me. Ah, now he was playing the victim. I sneered. If you didn't delete me, how come I couldn't see your profile? That was the team coach. He doesn't let us post personal information during the season, so we all had to hide our feeds. I'm serious. He looked at me pitifully. By the time I worked up the courage to message you, you'd already deleted me. The night after our exams, I went to your house, but you weren't there. I tried calling, but you didn't pick up. Then, over the summer, I finally got brave enough to try again, but your number was disconnected. As he spoke, he started to sound hurt. Did you change your number just to avoid me? Leo, don't ignore me. I know I was wrong. I've thought about it a lot and I like you too. You can't just not give me a chance to make it right. My head was spinning. Jackson said he liked me too. I wasn't avoiding you. I changed my number because I didn't want any contact with my dad's side of the family. Jackson pleaded and whined, shamelessly using his 6 feet 3 inches frame to his advantage until I dazedly added him back as a friend. I never knew how to handle his shameless persistence. He pushed his luck. What's your new number? Can you tell me? Did you come all the way to my school just to get my number? Yeah. He said it without a hint of shame. How am I supposed to win you over if I don't even have your number? Jackson's idea of winning me over involved riding a public bike from BC to Harvard every day to sit in on my classes. On days he had training and couldn't make it, he'd show up at my dorm at night with all sorts of weird snacks. I had fallen for these little tricks once before, but now they weren't enough to make my heart flutter. Sensing my unchanged attitude, Jackson tried a new tactic. He showed up outside my dorm with a huge bouquet of roses and waited for half an hour. I could feel the gossiping stares of everyone passing by. I stood on the steps, completely mortified. Why did you buy flowers? This is so weird. Jackson, can you please act normal? What's not normal? Isn't giving flowers the most basic part of pursuing someone? Stop messing around and take them back. I'm not accepting them. I have to get to the event hall. The university's anniversary gala was approaching, and rehearsals for the performances were back on the schedule. Jackson's smile was a little strained. Accepting them doesn't mean you're saying yes to me. Just take them back to your room and put them in a vase. They're pretty. I'm going to rehearsal. It's not convenient to carry them. I'll go with you. I'll carry them for you. No, I could already picture the scene. Him holding the flowers, surrounded by a crowd of gossiping students. My face darkened. Jackson dropped the act and sheepishly hid the flowers behind his back. Fine, we won't go. I'll just come find you tomorrow. Then, Jackson, don't come anymore. I told you, I'm not looking for a relationship. He rubbed his nose and glanced away. Can't we just be friends? Whatever you say goes. Who gives their friend roses? Being friends doesn't stop me from pursuing you. We can be friends while I try to win you over. Whenever you're ready for a relationship, you can say yes. You're not losing anything. I looked at him seriously. Jackson, in my heart, I've already lost you. Even if you say you like me, I can't bring myself to rely on you like I used to. Can you understand that? Jackson stared at me blankly. After a moment, a bitter smile spread across his face. It's okay. I can wait. I can't live without you. Even if you don't want me anymore, I'm willing to wait. Watching his dejected figure walk away, I felt a flicker of something. Maybe if I shot him down a few more times, he'd give up. I thought that after being rejected, Jackson would lie low for a few days. But the next day, he asked me out to dinner as usual. Can't. It's Mason's birthday. We already made plans. The chat box repeatedly showed typing, as Jackson carefully crafted his response. Can I come too? I'll get him a gift. I don't think that's a good idea. You don't know each other. We'll get to know each other then. Things were a little awkward at the gym last time. I want to apologize to him in person. That was a reason I couldn't refuse. That evening, Jackson was the last to arrive at the private room in the restaurant. The moment he walked in, Will leaned over and whispered in my ear, "This guy doesn't look like he's here to apologize. He looks like he's here to peacock." Jackson was wearing a long camel-colored trench coat over a black sweater. The soft, form-fitting fabric clung to his toned muscles. I only glanced at him for a second before feeling strangely flustered. His hair was meticulously styled with gel. A silver chain hung from the pocket of his jeans, jingling softly as he walked, and he'd swapped his loud basketball sneakers for a pair of black patent leather combat boots. He was definitely peacocking. Jackson presented the gift. Sorry, traffic was a bit heavy. I found that odd. How do you get stuck in traffic on a bike? Jackson replied smoothly, I drove. Whose car? Did you buy a car? Yeah, I got one right after I moved to Boston. We'll always focused on the strangest things. How'd you get a license plate so fast? Jackson smiled humbly. My family took care of it a few years ago. I stood to the side, arms crossed, and smirked. Keep showing off. You're really laying it on thick. He had a car this whole time but still rode a public bike to my school every day. He was even stooping to pity plays. Mason's other friends were there too. Chris was a high school classmate of Mason and Will's whom I'd met a few times. He was a boisterous guy. During dinner, Chris suddenly slapped his thigh. Leo, I've got good news for you. Chad got arrested a couple of days ago. My body went rigid. Everyone at the table, except for Jackson, knew who Chad was. Provoking a fight, public brawl, he'll probably be locked up for a year or two. I knew it. A scumbag like that who causes so much trouble was bound to end up in jail sooner or later. Jackson asked, who's Chad? Chris wasn't just boisterous, he had a big mouth too. You don't know Chad? He's the one who bullied Leo so badly he had to transfer schools. Thank God our boy Mason was there to save the day. Jackson grabbed my hand, his voice tense. How did he bully you? I didn't want to relive it. I waved my hand and said it was nothing. But Jackson still found out that Chad had sexually assaulted me. We had all had a bit to drink. On the way back, Jackson called for a driver. We were sitting in the back, and just as I was drifting off, I realized Jackson was crying. I was startled. What are you crying for? Jackson's eyes were red, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry, Leo. To go through something like that and still tell me you liked me, you must have been so brave. I had the driver stop at a public parking lot near the university. Once we were alone in the car, Jackson suddenly pulled me into a hug. I've liked you for a long time. You're different from everyone else. I wanted to be with you every day, but I was too scared to admit it. I overthought everything, and it took me forever to work up the nerve to contact you. Compared to you, I'm a coward. His tears soaked the collar of my shirt as he rambled on. He told me he wore the basketball shoes I gave him for every championship game, then pulled out his phone to show me their team victory photos. That's when I saw it. His phone wallpaper was the picture of us from the Star Tutors board. He said that thanks to me, he scored over 100 on his math exam, getting the top academic score for his major. He said when he chose jersey number 24, he wasn't thinking of Kobe, but of my birthday. He said that for Christmas Eve this year, he'd prepared an even bigger tree and was going to have me draw a prize again. But this time, all the slips of paper would have his wishes written on them. I laughed through my tears. It's my birthday. Why should I be granting your wishes? Jackson went back to being shameless. I want to give myself to you as a gift. Whether you want me or not, I'm all yours. I slowly wrapped my arms around his waist. Our chests pressed together, 2 heartbeats accelerating in perfect sync. I really had no right to call Jackson shallow. Seeing him all dressed up like this today, I'd wanted to surrender the moment I saw his face. He was kind of cute when he was drunk. Jackson nuzzled my neck with his nose. When I didn't push him away, he got bolder and kissed my cheek. Leo, can I kiss you? I turned my face away, flustered. You already did. Jackson leaned over, pinning me against the car door. That's not enough. I want to kiss you again. Can I? What if I say no? Jackson's chest rose and fell twice. He was so close I could see his dark eyelashes tremble. He was actually going to pull away. I cupped the back of his head and pulled him back down. You idiot, I said. If we spent the night in the car. I woke up at 5 in the morning with a splitting headache, feeling a pang of guilt as I looked at the pile of used tissues on the floor. Alcohol was definitely a bad influence. Jackson was still asleep, his fly half unzipped. The back seat was too small for him to stretch out, and he looked pitifully cramped. I carefully opened the car door, planning to sneak back to school. But the second my foot hit the pavement, a large hand pulled me back inside. Jackson's voice was a low, raspy murmur. Where are you going? Back to school. He opened his eyes, which were still bloodshot. He clearly wasn't fully awake. He glanced at his phone. Going back this early? Trying to run away? I didn't say anything. Jackson rolled his neck from side to side, the bones making a crisp cracking sound. I'll walk you back. You don't have to. It's a 2-minute walk. Jackson was silent for a moment. The air in the car grew thick and awkward. I wished I could crawl under the seat. Leo, last night I didn't force you, did I? No. Then what's with trying to run away the second you wake up? What are we now? I mumbled, my confidence failing me. Let's just say I was acting on lust. Okay? Acting on lust? He repeated the words, then suddenly burst out laughing. Oh no, I broke him. In the end, Jackson still walked me to the school gate. As we were parting, he told me he was going to Georgia for a tournament and wouldn't be back for a month. That should have been good news. It would give me plenty of time to think about my relationship with him. But I quickly discovered that Jackson was like a drug. In the days he was gone, I started having withdrawal symptoms. I couldn't focus in class, I had no appetite, and he even invaded my dreams at night. It was terrifying. The day before Christmas Eve, Jackson's location on social media still said Georgia. He probably wouldn't make it back for my birthday. To be honest, I was a little disappointed. I had been thinking that if he really did hang a wish on the Christmas tree about giving himself to me, I would say yes. The next day, I was in the event hall for a New Year's gala rehearsal when Jackson suddenly called, saying he was waiting for me outside. I rushed to ask my director for an early leave and ran out the door. Jackson was standing in the snow, wearing a black cashmere coat, the tip of his nose red from the cold. When did you get back? Why didn't you say anything? A smile spread across his face. Are you surprised to see me? I nodded shyly. Yeah, a little. He let out a sigh of relief, a sparkle returning to his eyes. Come on, I'm taking you somewhere. After we got out of the car, I hesitated, looking up at the 5-star hotel in front of us. What was going on? Were we skipping the prize drawing part and going straight to the part where he offered himself up? Seeing me standing frozen, Jackson quickly explained, well, I couldn't exactly carry a Christmas tree through the streets. In the executive suite, a Christmas tree nearly as tall as me stood in the center of the living room. A birthday cake with candles was already on the table, and red wine was breathing in a decanter. The atmosphere was romantic and cozy. The heating in the room was on full blast. I took off my down jacket and sat down on the couch, feeling a little self-conscious. Jackson asked, do you want to make a wish first, or draw your prize? Let's draw. With Jackson watching me expectantly, I plucked the golden ornament from the very top of the tree. I opened it. Inside were 2 slips of paper. One said friend. The other said boyfriend. What does this mean? It means you get to decide. Whatever you want us to be, I'll be by your side. But don't even think about getting rid of me. My nose tingled. This isn't like choosing between KFC and McDonald's. Whatever. It's up to you. From now on, I'll listen to you about everything. I tore up the slip of paper that said friend. A huge grin spread across Jackson's face. He eagerly opened his arms and pulled me into a tight hug. A trail of soft kisses went from my forehead down to my lips, which he gently captured with his own. Gradually, his hands started to wander. Wait, we haven't had the cake yet. We can have it for breakfast. I melted into his gentle touch, instinctively responding to his movements, my hands sliding under his shirt. The fabric felt strange, like mesh. Why does this feel so weird? What are you wearing under there? Jackson stood up and took off his shirt, revealing a black lace top underneath, open at the front. His well-defined chest and abs were faintly visible through the black lace. He even struck a deliberately provocative pose for me. My eyes were glued to him. Why are you dressed like that? You said you act on lust, didn't you? My original plan was, if you chose friend, I was going to take my clothes off and seduce you. The visual was so overwhelming that I subconsciously touched my nose. Okay, good.
No nos habled.
Jackson was clearly confident in his body. Do you like it? I swallowed hard. I like it. He lay back on the couch, propped his head on his arm, and crooked a finger at me. Come here, boyfriend. I was a little dazed. Wait, was I supposed to be in charge? Seeing me standing there, completely lost, Jackson burst out laughing. He stood up, easily sweeping me into his arms, and carried me straight to the king-sized bed in the bedroom. I gave you a choice, you know. Since you didn't take it, I guess I'll have to.